start. So, okay, so guys, I am super excited to do this painting. I know a lot of you were very excited to do this as well. This is a fun one, and all of us really love sunsets. We love this. Visually, this is just so exciting, and this is just pull into your hats. It is a little bit more detailed, a little more involved. So just hang with me. We can do this, and I'm super excited. We are going to still use our 5 colors that we start with: our red, our yellow, our blue, and then we're also going to have our black and our white.
Miss Tiffany, with the red, should it be like a bright red or more of a darker red?
My red is the cadmium red medium, so it's actually just kind of more in the medium range. It's not a super dark one, actually. To get some of the darker ones, we'll do it with mixing, and it'll kind of be layering over. So this is kind of more of just a medium red.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Let's see, other material we're going to have is we're really going to use this medium flat brush. Now I'm using especially this medium one because my canvas is only an 8 by 10. If you want to be ambitious and do a larger canvas, I would recommend maybe switching to a larger brush if you're covering more area. But to get some of these little nuances of color in here, we're not going to be doing big sweeping motions. We're going to be doing more little bits back and forth. So this medium brush will be good, and we'll use the medium brush basically for the whole painting, basically. And then we'll probably bring in just our medium round brush for just a little bit of detail work at the end. So really, 2 brushes, 5 colors, and we're going to get started. So move the example over. Now I want to break this down. If you've done paintings with me, you know that it's about layers, right? I'm pretty sure you're going to know that the sailboat's not the first thing we're going to paint, is it? We're going to start with the background. So we're going to start on the sky, work on the sky. We'll come down here to the water. We'll go back in, adding some of these extra clouds and the sun. And then we'll work on the sailboat and adding some splash water. So you'll start to see the different elements start to build. We'll do some bouncing back and forth between our sides to allow the other part to dry. And the other thing is you do want to make sure you have something that you can draw a straight line with and your chalk. So we've said this before, or I've said it before if you don't remember, water is the only thing that self-levels in nature. So our eye knows if it's not straight. Land can be bumpy, it can be hilly, that's fine. But if it's water, especially a horizon line like this, we want to try and get that as straight as possible. I don't have my ruler, I just have a piece of cardboard, but it's bigger than my canvas, so I'll be able to draw a line, right? So as long as you just have something that you could draw a straight line and have your chalk, then we are good for that horizon line. Okay, so let's see, we're going to get out some colors. I'm gonna get out some blue. It'll snap open. Ooh, that was stubborn. All right, get some blue out. I've got that little dried part. That's what it was stuck on. Get that out. Go ahead and get some red out as well. And for paint management, I'm just putting out a little bit, and then I can always add some more. Let's see what else. I need to go ahead and grab some white. I mean, honestly, basically need to put the 4 basic colors out of white, red, basically just everything but black. So let's just go ahead and get our 4 of our 5 colors out onto our plate. So mine did a little splat right there, but that's fine. And you know what? I always end up using more white. I'm gonna grab just a little bit more. There we go. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, like I said, we're gonna kind of work our way down through the sky, And we're going to start with making a darker blue. So this blue is not straight blue. We're going to actually, here, let me turn so you can see our example. We are going to make it a little bit darker. The water right here is just straight blue. Okay, so that's our water. So to make the sky look a little different, I'm going to grab our paintbrush, dip that in the water. Okay, we're going to go over to our blue, but we're also going to add just a little touch of red to it. That's going to kind of make it this blue-gray color that we're going to start out with, and it is going to be darker, kind of more up there at the top. So I'm going to grab some blue on my brush and just a tiny little bit of red. And honestly, I'm not blending right here. I've kind of just, you can see there's a little dot of red in there with the blue. And the way I'm going to blend is on my canvas. I don't want to paint all over my plate. The paint needs to be on my canvas. So I'm going to just do a stroke back and forth at the top, right here. And see, I don't have enough paint. I'm going to go back, grab a little more. Some back and forth. And that's just going to be our little darkest line. Now, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to grab a little bit of white this time. So now I've got that red and that blue, and also now some white. And I'm kind of going back and forth, but I'm not going very far. Do you see how it's just barely at the top? And we're talking 2 inches for me. Again, if you're doing a larger canvas, you're going to make it come down proportionately, but we've covered part of this, right? But we're not going to do as much back and forth. What we're going to do, a lot of ours, is we're going to use our brush to kind of keep it flat, like it's a horizon, and do a lot of zigzag lines. A lot of this is going to be zigzag lines that you'll see as we go back and forth. That's how we'll do the clouds. That's how we'll do the reflection. A lot of where our brush is flat and we're kind of going zigzag back and forth, okay? So I'm going to grab some more of my blue, some more red, a little white, and now I'm going to start doing a little more of that zigzag of color. Okay, so do you see how now instead of doing the wide part, I'm using the skinny part to kind of lead the paint. I'm going to grab some blue and some white, just blue and white this time. I'm kind of mixing this lighter blue. So we're going to try to get different shades mixed in here, right? Kind of back and forth. So I'm kind of coming down, and it's kind of making these little zigzag kind of lines. Those are kind of the building foundations for the clouds and the sunset. Okay.
So you're doing it sideways?
I am. So yeah, I'm just leading it where it's basically drawing a line, skinny part. So the flat edge is what's leading instead of the wide edge.
What paintbrush you said to use?
What?
What paintbrush you said to use?
Oh, we're using the flat medium one. So it looks like this. So when I turn it this way, it's wide, and when I turn it this way, it's nice and skinny. One of those would work. Yeah, one of those would work. Right. So come down, I'm going to grab a little bit more of the blue, red. I'm going to get a little bit lighter with some more white, and I'm going to zigzag, but I'm not going to fill it in all the way. I'm going to make some space because I'm going to come back in with some of the red. So you can kind of see I'm zigzagging it. I can even kind of go ahead and put up a couple of these little clouds up top there since I already have it lighter. I can zigzag a little bit of this lighter blue up top. So we're using that zigzag line, trying to keep it more straight. I mean, you can kind of.
What color did you say we needed to use?
This is blue with some white.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now I'm going to rinse my brush and start grabbing just some red. I'm going to grab red on my brush. I'm going to come in here and start to zigzag some red in there. It's okay if it goes over the blue. It's going to make it kind of darker. You see how now I'm pulling in that red of the sunset. And we're going to start the red part of the sunset that kind of transitions from the blue, right? And so, yeah, I'm pulling a little bit of the blue as I'm doing these zigzags, and that's okay. That's giving me kind of some darker spots, right? So that's actually how I can kind of blend in between. It's still kind of wet, so I can zigzag in between those colors a little bit, get it to blend in. I'm going to rinse out my brush because I want to do more solid red from here on. So I'm going to do more back and forth with my solid red. So a clean brush will help. I am trying to still make sure you've got enough paint that you're covering, right? You're covering the canvas. This is still our first layer. So first layers sometimes will we'll still need some extra paint to cover. All right, so I'm going to actually go for more of the wider side of my brush. I'm going to bring that red kind of down, and I'm even going to start grabbing, we're going to even grab some yellow right now so that we can start doing more of an orangey part. You see how now it's getting kind of more orange? And we're going to come down to about kind of the halfway mark, maybe a little bit lower, but we don't want to go too far, but we'll still be able to cover over top of it. So this is where it looks a little flat. You're like, but we're missing all the clouds. The clouds will happen afterwards, I promise. So this is still just kind of the base for the sunset. All right. I'm kind of checking. I think we can actually, I'm going to come down about another inch. So let's see, how far are we actually going? About the size of my hand. We're gonna keep that bottom third is our water. So I can actually come down a little bit more, just a little bit more. Maybe I'll make that pretty bright.
So we mixing the yellow with the red?
Yellow and red, yep, to make it kind of an orangey color. So we can bring it down a little bit because our blue will cover over yellow. So that's okay. So bringing it down this far, even if it's not as far as if it's farther than you need to, that's okay. Our blue, once we make our line, our water line, will be able to cover over top with the dark blue. So that will cover over. All right, so I'm gonna rinse my brush, double check, make sure you guys are doing this. So we've kind of done a transition. We've done some blue, we've kind of done some red down in here, and then we started adding some yellow to kind of make this orange color. And then we're going to start doing our water. And of course, we'll need to draw our horizon line. Again, looking at the background, it doesn't look complete yet. We're going to still be able to go back in, adding in more clouds, adding in the highlights. So this is still kind of the background, but we're putting in those blocks of colors.
So then we start adding this plain yellow.
It wasn't straight yellow yet. It was still some red and some yellow to make it kind of more orange. I'm noticing I'm doing a little more orange this time, but I like it. It's still
Like this?
fine.
I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because this bright yellow right here, actually, we're going to do our trick that we use whenever we're painting a bright, bright yellow over darker colors is we're going to actually do some white for a little bit and go back over it with the yellow. So you don't have to worry about trying to make it super yellow. We will go back in and add that.
And we're still doing this sideways, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can make this a wider one because we're going to go back in with the little, with the clouds later. So this is also just kind of getting the color in. Got that color in. All right, so checked in with everybody. They've kind of put in these color blocks. We're discussing about how we want to make sure we've got about a third, you know, on each section right here. So this bottom part is kind of more of a third that's left. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use whatever tool you have to make a straight line. That's what I'm doing. And we're going to put in our horizon line. So I'm going to, just so that I don't make a sideways horizon line, I am going to turn it to myself just a little bit. So I'm going to make sure I'm actually going a little above where I painted. So we're going to go back over it with our blue. So I actually went a little bit lower on purpose. Let's see, this is a better line. Okay, so I'm going to line that up, grab my chalk, and we're just going to make one nice line. So you can see that my chalk line is a little above where I painted before, which is fine because the blue that we're going to add is below that. Also, while we have our chalk, we're going to do a half circle, a little half circle. That's where our sun is. So we've got our center, right? The center of our painting, and our sun is just off center. So I've got like 2 fingers right here, and there's the center. I'm going to just do a nice little half circle right there. And it's going on the line. So there's the line, there's my half circle, right? Now, again, this is chalk. One of the reasons we like chalk is if you feel like you've messed up, you just take it, you rub it right off, and you can start again. Now, don't mess up that horizon line. Oh my goodness, shouldn't have done that. Oh well, see, you can't really mess up. Even when I show you guys, can't mess up. So I've got my sun, got the horizon line. It's good to put in the sun right now because we're going to actually do reflections first before we do the blue, because we're going to do yellow, and we know yellow does better right on top of the white. And so I need to know where it's coming from the sun, right? I want to make sure and start right up underneath the sun. So this is where we're going to do lots of little zigzag wiggles, all those yellow zigzag wiggles, right? So I'm going to use my flat brush again, all right? And I'm going to go straight yellow, okay? We're going to do straight yellow with this.
Miss Tiffany,
Yes.
my paint is still pretty wet, so I can't actually do the chalk line or the sun.
Okay, well then I want you to just kind of, in your mind, kind of imagine where you're gonna put the sun, and you can just start doing the yellow right below it, and we can always go back and add that. It's fine. It's more just, I mean, you can even do these and then end up making sure the sun is just over top of it. That's fine. Like you can kind of like do it in reverse, but it was just something that we could do. You're right. If it's not dry, that would make it much difficult to draw with chalk. So I've got just my straight yellow, straight yellow. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a lot of little zigzags. And the zigzags are smaller when they're close to the sun, and they're going to start getting bigger and bigger as they're closer to us, right? Like we're the ones seeing it, and it's closer. So I'm going to first kind of just do some little ones like that. You see I've got just little zigzags. And then now as it's getting farther away, I'm going to go over this way some. And I'm going to zigzag over this way. You see how I'm kind of, the zigzags are not straight in line. They're kind of, they go over. Okay, they're going to zigzag over this way. And it's going to get a little bit bigger. Do you see how we're zigzagging? I want to make sure that you can see this. It looks really strange right now because we're just doing yellow, but we're doing the yellow so that it's nice and bright. And so I'm really kind of almost like scrubbing it in. Can you hear my brush? Maybe it's not loud enough. I can hear it. And so I'm going to see how I'm kind of zigzagging. I'm getting a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. These reflections are getting bigger over here. And also, if there's any part where you think that you completely messed up later on, when we go back with the blue, you can always cover back over parts of it too. So there's a lot that you can't mess up on even at this point, okay? You can't mess up. Can't. So I do like having kind of, they come out to a point a little bit. So that's one of the advantages for using this tool, because that helps us with the reflection. So as you see, as I kind of come out here, I'm using the edge of my brush to make kind of these little points and jagged edges. And again, we can go back in and add some of that later. Maybe I'll make this part really big. Look, there we go. See how it's kind of, it's smaller and then it's adding and getting wider and wider as it gets down. So there is kind of a center corridor almost right there, and then it just kind of zigzags off. Now, I know that with my painting this as an example, sometimes mine look a little sideways. So I'm going to try to look straight on for a little bit, trying to keep it again a little more level, because again we're telling the story of water, and water likes to be more level. Our eye knows that water isn't sideways, right? Our eye knows that. So we're going to trick our audience's eye that this is water. We got to follow some of the water rules. Okay, so I'm going to say that is my reflection. So you can see it's coming from the center of my sun. We've zigzagged. Make sure that you get it nice and wide down here at the bottom. You can go even wider, Nova. You can. Yeah. Yep. There you go. Yes. Guys, you're doing great. You're doing great. I'm so excited. I'm so stoked to see how you're going to do this. Okay, so now we're going to transition and we're going to do the rest of the water with the blue. Okay, so when we're doing the blue, when we get up, like we can, if we're over here, I can do my wider strokes. When I get up to our reflection, we're going to be a little more gentle, and we're going to use the edge of our brush to kind of go in between and kind of just fill in the white that is left over, right? So if I'm doing blue just over here, it's fine. I can just do blue, no problem, blue. But then I come over here, I'm going to turn my brush and do kind of that same wiggle that we did before, but now it's going around the yellow. And you see how it wiggle, wiggle,
Plain
wiggle
blue.
with the blue, just straight blue. So this is just straight blue. And we're going to just kind of go around what you've already done. And so again, if this is a part where you're like, man, I really got too blocky right there, I want to make it skinnier. Use that blue and you can go ahead and cut back in and thin it back out. Do you see how I just put more blue right there?
So you're not painting the horizon line?
What?
You're not painting on the horizon line with blue, or?
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you're gonna do the horizon line all the way up to the horizon line. So you make sure and get that nice and straight. All the way up under that. Now, if you somehow don't get it straight, there's also another layer that we're gonna do that will help us fix anything, but taking your time. So we've got a couple things that we can go faster on and a couple things that we need to go slower on. That horizon line, yeah, we gotta be a little slower with that. And then, but then if I'm over here, I can just fill that in, right? Fill that in. I'll add waves and stuff later to that. But then when I get back over to my reflections, right, I gotta be a little easier too. So then I'm gonna turn that brush and go zigzag into those reflections. So you see how it kind of cuts in. Using that skinnier part of the brush is where I can bring the blue into the parts of the white that I had left. But we still have a really bright yellow, right? We still have really bright yellow left, which is nice. That's why we had to do yellow first. And then our blue, we kind of filling it in. There we go. So it looks like I've got about half of mine done. Still got this other half. And like I said, you could still find yourself going in and fixing parts. But this is a part where if you're like, man, I put too much yellow here, I didn't get it to be very pointy. Well, then you use the blue and you just fill it in that way. So that's a great little tip. So yeah, all the way. Now don't cover the horizon line where it's coming from the sun. So make sure that it's still, I think I can still cut in that way. Oh well. We can go back. Actually, I think I did that before. We can go back and just add a little white and put that right back in. Because actually I think I need to do that anyway because I have orange right there. There we go. You guys getting your water in? We doing okay? I know I'm having to focus on all my little reflections. I'm sure you're doing the same thing. We're all looking down at our paintings, focusing. Oh, we should breathe because this is still just like coloring in. So if I see white, I just kind of cover it up, right? So it's fine. And I can mess up. We can fix pretty much everything. We can fix everything. So, and sometimes it ends up being better than you anticipated. So you can see for mine now, you know, I might still have a couple of little white spots. Do not worry too much about filling in every single detail. We actually are going to go back in around the edges. If you see on the example right here, we've got some red that will kind of go back in on some of the edges of the reflection. So it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but you get in the shape, right? We've got the shape. That's what we want. That's what we want. I'm going to rinse out my brush. And it's not a paint class unless I'm covered in paint. So I've already covered myself in paint and trying to clean up a little. All right, so rinse, rinse, rinse your brush. We're going to let this part of the painting dry. And we're gonna actually shift back up to more of the top part, okay? So you guys need a little more time to finish up your blue? A little bit more? Okay.
I do.
I'm gonna pause those that are doing the recording. I'm pausing the recording just to let you catch up, and I will meet you right back here. I'm not gonna add anything more to my painting. We're just gonna make sure you've got all the time you need to do the blue. Pause the recording, and then come right back, and we'll catch you right here. All right, so we are back to where we were. Hopefully you have filled in your blue and we have not done anything extra. We are going to move on to the next part, which is giving our sun some attention, right? So we want to have a bright yellow sun, but putting yellow over straight on top of this is not going to show up very well. What we need to actually do is we're going to make a white sun at first. So that is going to give us a white base to come back and add a bright yellow. So I'm just going to take white in my brush and go around and fill in the sun. You do not have to worry about it being a perfect covering, even if you see a little bit of the orange coming through. Honestly, our sun already has a little bit of orange. It's more the fact that we're getting a nice coat layer of that. And also, we're going to do a line of white above our water horizon line. And so that's just following along all the way above. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and also do a very straight line at the same time. Whew, this is hard. Okay, I'm gonna try and do this. Okay, so I'm just gonna follow along. You see how sometimes you might have to grab some more. This is also a great time if you feel like you got a little wonky on your horizon line. This white will help you kind of go back and fix that. All right. So I'm going to rinse my brush because actually I accidentally grabbed a little bit of blue on that one. If yours does that, it's okay. You can always just let that area dry, come back over top. We're going to go back with yellow over top of that later. But that's only because I just did the water and that's still maybe a little wet. But the main point is that this top part should be all dry because we've left it alone for a while. All right.
So we just paint white on the horizon line?
White right on the horizon line and in our sun. And then we're going to leave them alone for right now. Yeah. And I've also seen my easel made it where I missed a couple spots on my water down at the bottom. So hopefully you guys, I'm going to go ahead and do that so that it's not wet when I return to that. I'm going to let that be able to have a chance to dry. If you notice, I haven't paid much attention to the edges of this canvas. We're doing so much detail. Honestly, we like to finish off these canvases, and I think that honestly doing black around the edge would be just fine, and that could be something at the very end is when we're going to use black. So if you want to try to wrap your colors, you can, but I'm not going to spend any time doing that today. All right. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to start going in and adding in some of these. I rinsed my white. Oh no, I rinsed my white because I had some blue in it because I want just white. We're going to go back and just grab some white because if you notice our clouds up top here, they're very, very yellow again. How do we get very, very yellow on top of colors? We're going to actually lay down some more white and go back and fill that in. So I'm going to take just plain white on my brush and we're going to do our back and forth squiggle, but with our clouds this time. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and kind of looking at that. I will say we're going to make some beautiful clouds and then some of it will get covered up. So don't worry, it doesn't have to be completely perfect. Some of it's going to be in the background anyway. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wiggle and kind of bring that down. Here we go. That's kind of a cloud right there. Let me do some right here. You see how I keep kind of wiggling it and it goes kind of back and forth. It's still staying kind of with our, like in line with our horizon. It's not tilting up or down. We're not doing puffy clouds as much as more the little white wispy ones that are so far away. Maybe I'm going to do some, I'm going to start some over this way and kind of wiggle it, kind of scrub it into canvas, get a little more white. Maybe I've got a little bit coming from here where it's near the sun. Do you see how everything's just kind of still staying in this line? That's kind of the rule that we're following, that nature's doing already all the time. The water stays more parallel. The ripples stay more parallel. Even these clouds are staying more parallel with the horizon, okay? So that's the illusion that we are able to use to get this effect, right? So maybe just squiggle in a little bit more. The blue that's on my example is actually a light blue we come in and do around this, so we don't have to worry about that. In fact, we don't have to like lay down white for that, but I'm going to go ahead and grab, since I've already still got some white on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and grab some blue, and I want to do like a light blue. See how it's a light blue? I want it lighter than the blue I'm about to go over top of so that it'll show up and it will look more like clouds. So I'm going to come up here. So that part's drying. I'm shifting up higher on my canvas, and I'm going to come here and do little lines for clouds. So you see how they're kind of little light squiggles. They're not really big because these are like up higher. We've got more clouds that are closer to the sun, but maybe a little bit even, look at this, even into that blue, that red. See how the blue cloud over top of the red a little bit kind of helps to blend it in a little. Maybe a little bit like that. Yeah. So kind of some back and forth. You can kind of gauge and feel, but you see how we're still doing those horizontal lines. That's kind of our rule in this painting, horizontal lines. Okay, I'm also going to go in and maybe add in some light red lines as well. Now, not super light. If we go too light on the red, it starts to just kind of look pink. But I want to grab some red and just a touch of white, and I'm going to come in here and look at this. I'm going to add in some back and forth, and maybe these are going up into the blue. So you see how now our blue and our red have started to blend more into each other, right? There we go. So that's neat. What? I used some red with maybe a little bit of white. You could also, even if you wanted to, do a little bit of yellow and make it kind of more of a orangey yellow if you want. But just kind of putting some more of the squiggle ones.
So it's like red and yellow mixed together?
You can, yeah. I think honestly a little bit of white is going to make it stand out. Red is and yellow are both a little more see-through colors, so just a little touch of white, it's amazing, will make a big difference. All right, I'm going to move on to gonna mix that light blue again that I was doing, and I'm gonna go around where we painted white. And I'm gonna do some light blue clouds around the white that will go back in with some yellow. So maybe now I'm gonna just squiggle around this one. You see how I'm kind of adding some blue, some light blue clouds there they're gonna be yellow. But right now we can just go ahead and add the blue since we're here, right? Maybe a little bit over there. You start to see where we're just kind of building the colors up in different areas. And as long as we're just kind of following that little rule that we have of the back and forth and the horizon, everything kind of staying more vertical, then it starts making sense and starts adding together, right? Maybe a little more blue there.
So it's light blue?
It is a light blue, yeah. And as you can see from the example, I'm kind of using my example to kind of see where some of the blue was. It doesn't have to be exact, especially if the way that your squiggles are. Mine are a little different than that one. So I'm filling it in differently as well, because I'm going to go with how they're feeling today, right? Maybe I want to do a little bit up there. There we go. That's fine. All right. All right. So we're kind of doing that next layer, or building in that next layer, right? So I'm starting to really like, for me, how the top is, but I'm really missing that punch of that yellow, right? So I want to make sure that the white that we laid down is pretty much dry. I think it pretty much is. I think mine's a little wet right there, but adding yellow to that won't mess it up. So I'm going to go ahead, I rinse my brush all nice and clean. I'm going to grab that yellow and I'm going to just color time, basically. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit of white to that. Oh, except my white is got too much blue messed up around it. I'm going to need to put out some fresh white for myself. I didn't keep my white clean. That's my own fault. All right, see, look at this. I surrounded this white with too much blue. I can't get to any clean white. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna grab a little bit. I wanna have a lighter yellow. So this is where I'm gonna do some white with the yellow, because I want it to be a lighter one. And then we're gonna just swiggle and color in where we already did it before, right? But yeah, make sure that it's white and yellow this time, than just the yellow down here. That's going to make it still seem more airy, like clouds. We're also going to do that same for our sun, that light yellow, and for our horizon line that we put in. So basically all the stuff that we just did as white, color in with a light yellow. Okay. If you don't get all of the white little spots on the clouds, honestly, it just makes them seem more airy and fluffy. But we're going to do that light yellow all the way on all the white spots that we added. There we go. And then I'm gonna, like I said, I'm going to Make sure this is filled in, my sun, and then that horizon line actually has that light yellow. There we go. And I can't, it's hard for me to talk and do a straight line. Oh my goodness. I can do it. I can do it. You can do it. It's a little easier this time because we're just coloring it in. I still have a little bit of chalk around my sun. Don't worry about that. We will do that. Oh my goodness, look how it already starts to pop. I love it. I love it. This part is when I start to see how those squiggles start looking more like clouds, right? They start looking so good. It makes me excited. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. All right. I am going to, I've still got a little bit of yellow, light yellow. I am going to grab just a little bit of just regular yellow, and half of my sun I'm going to just do a coat of a little bit more yellow to make it a little deeper. We may come back and add a little more, but I just went ahead and did that while I was already here. But we'll go back and add. We'll do basically a bright side and a little bit of a darker side on the sun as a detail. Makes it not just that flat color. All right, I'm gonna let you catch up here. I'll let you catch up, and I will, you know, if you want to pause this, if you want to look, you can also pause and look at the example for where different things are. They're gonna be in different places. See how even I can't make them exact. It's okay. Have grace with yourself. This is a process. This is something new. Oh, this is looking really good. I'm excited. I hope you're getting excited too, because doing something bigger and new like this could be intimidating. And I hope that you are having a good time still. You're breathing. This is fine. This is fun. Can't mess it up. No one's grading you. This is not, there's no final grade on this. This is just to do something because it makes us happy. And we need to remember that sometimes, because we can take it too seriously. Oh, that's looking really good, Nova. Yes, yes, yes. I'm seeing lots of good clouds. I like how I can still see some good pockets of the red poking through there. And you see why we did all those different layers, right? Well, we started with the red and we're building up from there, right? What's funny is if you really love this part of the of your sunset, you're gonna like it, but it's still, we're gonna have to cover up part of it too with the black sailboat. All right, so while this top part is drying, we're gonna move down to the bottom portion of our painting, and we're gonna start adding in just some of those extra little highlights, the red reflections on the water. Okay, so my red is almost gone. I'm gonna put out a little bit more for myself. If you notice, we've still been doing everything with just that same brush. Now, if no, we're gonna still do the same brush. Okay, so I'm going to take just solid red, just red, but I'm not a lot. I want to show you. It's just a tiny little bit. I'm just kind of dusting it because I don't want it to be really thick. I want it to be more just kind of a dusting of this color. It's not going to be going everywhere. It's more like it's hitting the corners of our reflections. So you're not going to see as much in the middle, but where it got really kind of skinny and kind of more at the edges, we're going to add some of this red as like it's somehow hitting the corners, the little edges of the reflections. So here's what I mean. We're going to come here, right? I'm going to get you closer, make sure. And I'm going to just do a little wiggle at the top of that part right there. You see how it's just part of it? I didn't even cover all the yellow. There's just a little touch of red in that corner now. And I'm going to go over on this side and wiggle a little bit over there. So you see how we're just going to be wiggling in a little, and I do like to say wiggle because this is a great way. You just put a little bit of the brush and you kind of wiggle, 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 wiggle it in. So maybe I get a little bit right there. Maybe it's going to hit that corner right there. And we're going to just add in some of this red. Like it's also, not only is it reflecting the setting sun, but it's reflecting all of the colors that are showing up in our sunset. So just wiggling a little bit of red, maybe along the edges, basically, the edges of our corners. You see that? So we don't want to cover up all the yellow. Do not cover the yellow. We worked hard to put that yellow in. We worked really hard. But we do want to add a little more to the color palette there. So yeah, kind of just going around the edge where our, basically the blue and the yellow meet. I'm adding some of the red. Not all the way, but just kind of this edge. And so we can see, we get more of this center corridor right here, right, of our yellow. Maybe I really get this one in here. Ooh, maybe that goes a little farther. That's fine. But that's kind of the whole idea, and that's why it's good not to have too much red, because then I can kind of control it better to just wiggle and kind of almost scrape that color in there that I want. All right, I'm going to rinse, 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 rinse out my brush. Rinse it out. If you're at the point where maybe you want to change out water, that's okay. Mine got a little, like it's really blue. Also, I had trouble with getting this. I mean, I could go back in with maybe a little bit of this yellow and white color and just kind of touch up right here to make sure that that's bright. I've got a little bit of blue showing through, so I will show you how I will even kind of go through and fix a boo-boo. So there's white right there, and maybe I'm going to add just a little bit of that yellow just to cover that right there. All done. See, no problems at all. And of course, after you finish the painting, you can always look and go back and add to it. But if you're keeping track of where we are on this painting, guys, for one, I am going to give you an applause because we are making really good progress. Yes. Oh, it's looking really good, Nova. We're making really good progress, and you may not have realized that you're going to be able to get this far already. So if you're in class time, we're a little past our normal class time, but we also started a little late, so it's kind of evening out there. All right, very good. I like it, Sydney. Yes. Kiki, we're doing okay?
Yes, I just got fixed it.
You're fixing something? Okay, no problem. Looking really good. Yes. Very good. All right, so the last but not least element that we need to put in is our boat. So the reason I haven't done any more water reflections and stuff is that it'll be easier to actually kind of put some of that around the boat. Wait, well, actually, let me see. I see a couple that are peeking through our sail, which means might be good. Maybe it'll be good right now. Let's go ahead and do just a couple of little water reflections, and I'm just going to grab some blue and a little bit of white. Not as light as we did up there, but we're basically just going to do another blue, and kind of like we did the clouds, except now this is just water reflections we're gonna just, ooh, I didn't mix that well. There we go. Just do some back and forth in just a couple little places. We'll go more around our boat, but these are just kind of little wiggle ripples, right? Maybe some kind of between there, kind of up there. Trying to see my example. There we go. That's easier for me. So just a light blue, and we might come back in later and add some highlights. I just realized that we've got a couple that, I mean, don't do it too wet because we're about to paint right here. We're about to do the sailboat, but just putting in a couple that could be behind the sailboat and might peek through is kind of neat. Okay. Those are just like way in the background. There's no way to mess it up. We just have a couple that might peek. There we go. Okay. So we're going to do the sailboat now. Grab your chalk and your measuring device. Mine is cardboard today. And we just need to draw a nice line. That sail mast is a nice straight line. And it's the only vertical straight line that we have. And everything else are horizontal lines that we've been doing, right? Trying to use these terms to have you start looking and thinking and breaking down painting, and that's part of what is so appealing about this, maybe, that our eye is seeing so many verticals, and then we have this, or horizontals, and we have this nice vertical sailboat mast that breaks it up. Okay, so I'm going to take my measuring device, and so kind of we've split the half. We've got the one half has got our sun, the other half is going to have our sailboat. So in this half right here, right, this half, I'm going to try and find kind of a middle point, right? So I'm going to kind of see about like that. Yeah, that's about right. I'm going to find a middle of that middle. So we're doing fourth, I guess. And I'm going to grab my chalk, and I'm going to go about 2 inches down from the top, start, and I'm going to come down about 3 inches into my water. So do you see that? Just one line, all I need. And then, yeah. And then I'm going to use the tool, and we're going to do one more line. We're going to do like it's basically an upside down T, right? At the bottom of the line, I'm going to do another straight line. You see that? So that is kind of the base for our sail. All right, so I'm going to use this straight line, and then this is going to be kind of the width of the 2 sails. And we're going to go from there. And this is where we're going to go ahead and grab our black paint.
Tiffany,
Yes.
is this too far apart or too close?
No, that should be good. Yep. And again, it's chalk. This is where we can't mess it up. If you did it too big, you can even just decide not to paint all the way that you drew it, you know? So that's fine. This is still just a guide. Just a guide. And I'm going to grab some black paint, just solid black paint, and this is where we're going to do the sailboat silhouette. And I still love using this brush because it's going to help me cut in a nice straight line. So of the sails, this one right here has the one straight line right there that we're going to be following it. So it's a triangle. It's a 90-degree triangle. This one is. So we're going to go straight up, follow our chalk line, and then we're going to, from the top, we're going to just paint down and connect it to the edge of our line that we drew. Okay? If you do not feel comfortable with actually doing the brush to do that, you can go ahead right now and just connect those and make that triangle if you think that that would be easier. If you want to just go straight from here, right? And I'm going to go straight down. And that's going to be one of the sails. It's not going to be exact on that side, right? I think mine has to be actually a little bit wider. See the beauty of chalk. So that can make it a little bit easier. And now we're going to just fill that in with solid black. And black is nice because it covers over any color that we've done. So I'm going to try to, I'm laughing. Every time I try to focus so much, I can't talk because I'm holding my breath a little bit. Just trying to keep a steady hand, but I'm just going to go straight down like that. And I'm not minding that it's a little wobbly because I'm still going to fill in. I'm just looking at one edge that is trying to keep it straight. And then to that. And I'm going to start filling it in after I get this line. So there's the outline. I've got chalk. Yes, it's kind of in my way. I will clean that off later. I'm not worried about it. The only thing the chalk may get in my way with is it might start to dry out my brush. So be aware, you may have to grab more paint. But we're just going, and I know, look at all the pretty sunset part that you worked so hard on, and I'm painting right over top of mine too. But it's okay. It's okay. We had this in mind when we started, but I'm very proud of how those clouds looked. I saw those clouds. They were amazing. And no one else will see them, but we saw it, and they were gorgeous. You did a great job on those clouds right behind there. That was the thing I thought of when I first did this painting, was like, why cover up all the beautiful work into some of my sunset ripples right here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that in. Fill that right in. I can go ahead and do the other bottom half of that sail. Now this one is a little different with the way that it attaches. It's not a straight line at all. It's actually a curved line. It actually curves from the top and it separates a little bit so we can see between, comes down, curves, but then curves right back and touches right at the base again. Do you see that? So depending on how much space you want between your sails, I may have done too much space. That's okay, I can go back and just add some more black. But that sail, it's got a little skinny part in between where we can see through, that little peek through, and then it comes down and connects. So it's kind of a triangle, but it has this curved line right there. You see that? So the chalk was very handy right there to give us that shape. But now we just have to follow along. So it touches, this sail touches at the top, and it comes down and touches the other sail down at the bottom. Okay, there we go. And then just filling that out. Again, the chalk, trying to dry out my brush, but it's okay. And again, those are beautiful clouds you did. I'm so proud of those beautiful clouds. Do not weep, those beautiful clouds are still there. Their energy is still in this painting. Their beauty is still making people smile, even if we're having to cover it up with black. It's okay. Don't be sad. Don't be sad. They were beautiful. You did such a great job on those. And so this is where if you're looking, maybe when you're drawing it, it was a little wider. Maybe you want to try to get a little closer. You can do that. See, I'm just following that line and I'm bringing them a little bit closer by just adding maybe just a little more black to one side. There also is at the very top, we've got a little flag, which is cute. So the little flag, I'm gonna just do a little touch with my brush so it gives me a little stick right there. And then, you know what? Let's save the flag for switching to our other brush later on. But right now I was able to use a nice my flat brush to do the stem for it. But I remember I had a little trouble trying to do the flag with this brush and it didn't work so well. Okay, the other thing we need to do is now we need to do the boat part itself, right? We need the boat, or else it's just a sail in the middle of the ocean by itself. That's kind of weird. Okay, so our mast, which is that line, I can even still see a little bit of the chalk line. I'm going to just come down a little bit with my brush. And that's just kind of the part that's going to attach to our boat there. And this is again where I could use my chalk. Oops, sorry, trying to juggle all these things. I'm going to use my chalk one more time, and I'm going to do another line. And this line, it's going to be about the same width as the base of my sails. Okay, so my sailboat is not too much bigger than the sails themselves. So I'm going to just, I wish I'd sharpened my chalk. Do another straight line. Again, it's just a guide. If you feel like you want to just eyeball the chalk line, you can. If you want to just
line from the middle, then
we're going to chalk do another line. Yep. Yeah, another line right there. And then the shape of the boat is really kind of interesting. So it's pointy at the tip, kind of comes down. This is I guess it's almost like a trapezoid. I don't know, because it's pointy at the side, but then it kind of is straight down on the end right here, maybe a little end, and then it connects flat. And this time it looks like my boat went a little lower than my other one. That's fine. I think I'm still going to have enough room, and maybe I can make it a little bit thinner. We'll have some water that's still going to splash over top. So now, again, this is just taking a black. You'll be able to see more. I know this chalk line was hard to see over the yellow that I was drawing, but this is where it's kind of, it's thin right here. It kind of has an end right there, and then they connect. It is not the most perfect and boat, but it is a boat shape, right? About, again, the width of our sails, and then we just fill this in with black. Fill that in. All right. I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my brush. I'm going to try and rinse it really well because the next bits of colors I'm going to do, well, we're going to do just a little bit. We're going to do a couple more little highlights while we're letting that dry, because to do the watermarks right here, the splash water, we do want to try to get the boat dry, because I tried to do it and I started to mix some of the black in and it didn't work so well. Here, you see my face. Hi, we've been looking at paintings. Thank you for listening. I'm doing the juggling. I'm really trying to help you guys finish this. I'm so excited. So you can see I still have chalk lines showing. That's fine. So again, while you're finishing that up, and we're going to try and let it sit, let it dry, I'm going to just go back in with my flat brush with just white, and I'm just going to add a highlight to my sun. My sun, I know, is nice and dry. So on the left half of my sun, I'm going to just pull a little bit of white right there and kind of blend that in. Maybe that's a little too much, so I can always, if you're like, oh man, I made
So
it
more.
like, it's some white and then and even just a little bit of the light yellow, right, to kind of blend that in. So I'm kind of adding kind of a lighter part to this sun. And then I'm going to go in and grab, we're talking the little dusting of red, and I'm going to come here and just add just a little bit of red on my sun. You see that? It's just the tiniest little amount. It's one of those things, so it adds a highlight to it. Maybe you can just kind of mix kind of a lighter orange if you want to, if you're having trouble with the red, if it's not cooperating. And that's going to be more on the right side of the sun. So you see how it's lighter on this left side, and it is kind of darker on the other, just to give it some dimension. And again, I'm bouncing to the sun because I know it's dry, and I'm trying to get my boat to dry. Dry boat, dry. We need you dry so that I can do the next part. I know something else that I see that I can do while that is drying is that I can go ahead and get my round brush. I'm gonna go ahead and get that. I'll go ahead and put the flag in, and that one's just black, but I think I can get it in a lot better. It's just kind of more of a squiggle line out, like that. It's a squiggle line, and then another one that's going to meet together, and then I fill it in. So a nice little boat flag right there. And again, I'm seeing the chalk lines. That's fine. We're going to be able to remove that once we get to the end. We'll rinse that out.
Which part are we doing?
What?
Which part are we doing?
I just went through and I just added the flag. So I used my round brush just to go ahead and put the flag in, because that's an area that we can paint on right now that we're not waiting to dry. I'm going to kind of come back along here. I see I've got a big dollop of black paint. I can actually even remove. You can remove, if you see a big glob of paint, you can gently kind of just remove that excess off of your painting with a clean brush, and that will, there's no globs, that will dry a lot faster. All right, guys, all we have left is the water, and then erasing any of our chalk lines. So we are almost there, guys. We are almost there. And it's going to be pretty easy. As you can see, I've just got my a wet brush, and I'm just trying to get some of this chalk off. I'm not going on the paint. I'm just kind of going around what I really kind of went everywhere. We can also, while that's still drying, we can go in with a little bit of red and do some other red kind of wiggle reflections on the water. But just a couple of them, you don't need. I'm just trying to help you find things to do. If you're still just working on the sailboat itself, do not worry what I'm doing, but it's something that you could go back in and add. I'm just adding in just a couple of little red reflections here or there. Maybe one there, maybe a little one there. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have added any right below the boat because that's where I'm going to be painting next. So I might even just lift that right off. I don't know if I've ever shown you that you can kind of, while paint is still pretty wet, you can actually, with a wet rag, just kind of like wipe it right off and get some of that if you didn't mean to. As long as it's already on some dried acrylic, we can kind of do that little trick. I had that before where I really thought I messed up, and as long as you were able to get it real fast with something wet and to kind of wipe it up, then you can kind of trick it. Yay. The little tricks I try to teach you guys that show that you can't mess up. It's okay. Everything's good. All right, I'm going to give everyone just a little break. I'm going to pause, keep it right here, let the class catch up, and then we're going to finish up the last thing with doing our water splashes. Let's finish this out. Okay, we are so excited. We were just sharing how far we've gotten with the class, and I'm just so excited about how it's turning out. And we are just at this last little part. This is the finish line, guys. You've made it. We're gonna grab our round brush right now. Don't mind all the paint on my hands. We're gonna grab our round brush, okay? And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be adding in our swirls and our water, and there's kind of a flow to it. I'm going to bring my example up because I want you to see that there's some different parts. So on the front of the boat, we're going to be doing some upstrokes. You see that? It goes up, up, up. On the middle part, we're going to be doing some kind of curved, rounded strokes. Back here, we're also going to do some more little upstrokes and then kind of finish it out, right? But the front of the boat, it's going to have this where it looks like the water is splashing up. And honestly, I did this one too fast, and I was mixing with some of my black. And honestly, I wish I added more white. And I can go back in even now and more white to have more of a spray effect. So I might be able to pull that off this time because I slowed down enough to let that dry. So I'm going to go in with my blue and my white, get some. It's lighter than our water, kind of that medium blue, because we are wanting it to look kind of like that ocean spray white. Okay, so like I said, so we're the front of our boat. We're going to kind of go up and flip up first, kind of this water, right? You see? Let me get you closer. We're going to flip that, and then we're going to switch, and we're going to do some curves like that, kind of like some arcs and stuff. Do you see that? So I'm going to kind of go that way, and then about when we're getting to the mast again, this part, I'm going to flip some up this way. There's some more splashes. More splashing of water. Splash, splash, splash. It always helps to do sound effects, especially when you're near the end and you feel like you're about to mess up and you're not because you're doing awesome. And now we're going to do some more where we're just going to trail it off, and basically we cover the whole bottom of our boat. We cover the whole bottom of it. And again, this time I went a little low on mine, so that's okay. I'm going to grab even just a little more more white this time. Like I said, I wish I'd had where I could do more white to get a little more of the spray and the splashing, you know, where the water starts to foam up. But yeah, just that last little bit as our boat is cutting through the water. So again, we kind of did up, up, round, round, a little more up, and then rounded it out there near the end. So we've got a couple little sprays up with our brush, right? And I am so proud of you. I want to remind you to make sure that you sign your painting. Take ownership of the fact that you have just done a fairly complicated, but not as complicated as you thought, right? I'm actually really proud that you have finished this painting. I would love to see your finished products. If you had any questions, I hope that we covered them as we were going through and the rest of the class had questions. If there's any part that you kind of get stuck at, you can, if you're watching the recording, you can rewind, go, pause, double check on something, and I will see you in class next time. Bye, have a great day.